Okay. Hi, my name is Emma Cook. I am the Tiny Turner and I am a professional wood turner from England. In this video, I'm going to show you how to turn this into a cupcake box. I'm going to show you two different ways of making the lid of the box because we are going to carve the decoration on the top, and there is an easy option and there is a more difficult option. So the timber is lime because it's really easy to carve. It is 100mm by 100mm and about 140mm long. You can make these out of smaller pieces, but I wouldn't go much larger than this because the bigger the timber, the bigger the box, the more carving you have to do. So this is about the maximum size. So we're going to put this between centres. We're going to put a tenon onto both ends, put it into the chuck, and then cut it into two pieces. So I've just brought the tailstock up for extra support because this is quite a large blank and it's quite a long blank. And we are going to now part the lid of the box off and leave the base in the chuck. We're going to leave just over half for the base and just under half for the lid. So approximately that. So we've nearly parted through, but because we've got the tailstock up, the safest way is now to twist and break that last bit. So put that safe, and we will turn the base. So we need to reduce the diameter of the base and taper it towards the chuck, and then we can hollow that out. So we need to check that the lid is wider than the top of the base. And once we're happy that the lid is wider, we can now cut our tenon for the box to fit together. So the tenon is going on here. Once we've cut the tenon, we can then hollow the box out. Once you've sanded the inside, you can either do the carving of the base whilst it is in the chuck, if that is easier for you to achieve, or you can carve it in something like this, a bench vise, so you can hold it in there and work on it here. So to carve the base, we are going to be using the fluter, which is a number 10 from this set by Stubbai, and we are also going to be using 1 or 2 of the other chisels during this project. So put one hand on the shank of the chisel and the other hand on the handle, and we are going to carve from the top of the box down to the base. The spindle lock is holding the piece still. And we're just going to carve one line after another. So I've moved the indexer on one so we can cut further round. So the carving on the base is finished, but we still need to take the tenon off from the bottom. So we're going to take this out of the chuck. We're going to put the lid into the chuck. And we're going to turn the recess for this to fit in and use it as a jam chuck to finish the bottom. So that's the next step. We've cleaned the underneath of the lid, so we're now going to use a parting tool to fit the jam chuck. The easiest and most successful way that I've found to do this is to keep trying the base until it fits perfectly. So we're going to take a cut that's way too small in diameter and work out until we find that perfect fit. Where it's annoying. That should go. Okay, so okay. So now we can finish and sand the underneath. Now we've got to try and get these two apart. Oh, yay. And we're going to take one more little scrape to make that a little bit wider because that is far too tight for a box. Once we've made this slightly wider, we can hollow the lid and then we can turn the lid round and finish it. So check to make sure that your box fits together. We still got to put some oil on this, but I do that right at the end. So now we can turn the lid round and turn the top of the lid. Please fit, please fit, please fit. So once the turning is finished, we can take the lid off and the chuck together, and we're going to put it onto a carving jig that fits into the banjo of the lathe. We're going to use the same chisel that we used to carve the base, and we're going to cut lines up from the outside of the lid up to the middle. This is quite time consuming. I'm going to show you a different option for decorating the lid. Now this one is slightly taller in height, so we need a little bit more room so that we can carve the next design. So this design is going to be a spiral, so I will draw this on first. And then we use the same chisel and we're going to cut that line. We're now going to use the number 8 chisel from the same set, and we are going to start to create layers here. So we're going to cut this much lower, and then the one on top and the one on top, and it gives a layered effect. So we'll use this chisel both this way, but we can also turn the chisel over and use it that way. We've now got 2 different styles of lids completely finished with the carving. With the swirled lid, you can sand this if you want, but I quite like to leave the texture, the tool finish. I think it looks really nice. So now it's up to you how you want to decorate it. For the finish, we are going to use some food safe oil, because these boxes can end up in cafes, or they might be given as a gift with candy inside. So I like to use a food safe finish for them. So we're going to put oil all over the base. With the lids, we're going to put the oil inside and on this section here. And then to decorate the top of both cupcake designs, we are going to use some of the ethereal flakes and pigments. I'm using a brush to apply the food safe oil just to give me a little bit more control. This is important especially for the lid, so that we don't get oil where we are putting anything else. Now the oil is dry, we can move on to decorate the top. So for this one, because we have lots of small spaces, I'm going to use the pigments because they are a lot smaller. So we're going to begin by putting some metal leaf size onto this. If you want to change the background colour, you can always put some paint on first in any colour and then put your size on, but I would like to be able to see some of the wood through the pigments, so I'm just going to put it straight onto the timber. So I think I'm going to go with the most purple of these. This is called Galaxy, and this is the colour I'm going to go with. You can use more than one, so we're just going to use a fluffy brush to pick the powder up. We don't mix the powder with anything. That is why we have put the size on there. So the size is now sticky, and as I brush the powder on, it will be held in place by the size. So all the ethereal colours have a colour flip to them. Galaxy is mostly purple, but you can see blue in there and orange and gold, depending on the angle that you look at it. And because we've got this texture, these pigments work really well because you can see the different colours nearly all the time. They are slightly transparent, so you can still see parts of the grain of the wood, which is why I chose to use these instead of the chameleon pigments, because they are a more solid colour. So this is just a little bit more subtle, but it really gives a beautiful effect. I'm now going to decorate the other style of cupcake box lid, but for this one I'm going to use the flakes, because the flakes can sit on this large area and just add a little bit of extra. So we'll swap these over and get that done. For this box, I think we'll go for more of an orange and gold look. So I'm actually going to use 2 of the flakes. Sprite will give us a nice gold colour, and Imp will give us a kind of reddish orange. Because the flakes are a lot larger, you can sometimes find that there's areas that they don't cover. So once I've put the flakes on, I will go over the whole area with the powders as well, just to make sure there's no sticky areas left that aren't covered. So to try and get a mix of colour, I've got both pots here, and I'm just going to use the brush, pick up a few pieces and just put them on. And then I'll do the same with Sprite. And then we'll smooth them down. So now I'm happy we've got a good covering of flakes. We'll go over with the colours Starlight and Supernova, and they are the matching colours to the flakes, so we're not introducing even more colours. Again, I'll open both pots and use them together, and this will just fill in anywhere that we've missed with the flakes. So the reason we've gone over it with the powder is just to make sure that any size that's not covered with the flakes won't allow dust to stick to it, basically. So you don't have to do that step. If you want to skip it and you don't want to put the powders on, you can always just spray a very light coat of clear lacquer over the top, so that will take up any stickiness in the size. But I just prefer to do it that way because I think it just adds a little bit more colour. For the area around here where we've put the oil, if you have any powder or flakes stuck to that, you can just take a cloth and wipe that away. The flakes and the powder will only stick to where you've put the size. So as long as you've been neat with your application of the glue, then you won't have either the powders or the pigments should I say, the pigments or the flakes stuck anywhere you don't want. So the cleanup is really easy. So there you have two different ways of turning and carving a cupcake box. Please let us know in the comments which one you prefer. I think I know which one I do, so it would be interesting to see if you agree with me, but I'm not going to tell you that just yet. If you've enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and see you in the next one.